Hey guys, this is Rob with MotoE. Just wanted to go over about 10 or 12 different stretches for you that we highly recommend that you use before your practices, before your races, before you're working out off the motorcycle. To try to keep it simple, we like to focus on going from head to toe. So the first exercise that we like to do is just literally let the weight of your head, just kind of let your chin drop and just let your head rotate all the way around. And you're going to find a majority of the time you have a tendency to want to pick your head up and you want to try to lift it. And what you want to think about is you want to just let the weight of your neck or weight of your head just stretch all the neck muscles out all the way around. And at first this is going to feel a little vulnerable, especially leaning backwards. These muscles, SCM, doesn't really want to let go. So you're just going to have to do this nice and slow. Okay? I'd recommend going 3 times to the right, 3 times to the left. Next thing you want to do, and this is relevant to all of the stretches, is you want to involve movement before you want to try to stretch the actual muscle and the surrounding joints. Okay. The first thing we like to do is get into the shoulder, and what we like to do is just have you circle the arms forwards and backwards. Okay. The thing that you'll notice is I'm trying to keep my chest pointing forward at all times. If you just get way out of the way, you're not really moving your shoulder. Okay. If you've had any shoulder injuries, you may find some limitations. You might get a couple catches. Just go slow. The thing about stretching is we're not trying to go super fast. All we're trying to do is get blood distributed into the joints and into the muscle tissue itself. Okay. The next thing that we want to go into is we want to get into the actual shoulder joints themselves and the chest together. So what we want to do is get something that's fixed, where you're going to do 2 ways. The first thing you're going to do is start at 90 degrees, and you're just going to create some resistance against it, and then you're just going to rotate your chest out and away. You're going to feel all pec major and a couple of the other attachments underneath the armpit. Okay? And then what you could do is straighten your arm out, and you get just a little bit of a deeper stretch into your lats and your lower back a little bit. Okay? The idea is keeping this stationary, trying to keep it horizontal to the ground. Same thing with the 90 degrees. You want to make sure this is horizontal to the ground. That's going to isolate the whole chest muscle itself. Obviously, you'd want to do that for the left and the right side. As we move down the body itself, and we get into the lower lumbar area, you're going to have to drop down to the ground. Just want to show you a couple stretches that you could do when you go to sit down. All you need is something that you can affix yourself to, where you can just rotate to the left nice and slow, then rotate to the right. All right, this is going to stretch out the external obliques that you're going to be using for moving the bike around. The idea is to move slow. Okay. Once you get this stretch deepened a little bit, you can kind of add a little bit of movement. All right. And to be safe, you probably should do the movement before you actually do the stretching itself there. But the idea is I want you to first test to see what your range of motion is by doing it what we call static stretch, then adding the movement. Okay. From there, what you can do is, again, you're moving down the body itself. Just for the sake of time, you'd want to go into the stretch exercises of the quads, the front of the leg. 2 things that you want to notice is that my knee is pointing straight down first, okay? And then you'll notice that I don't have my heel pulled up against my bottom, all right? If you pull your heel up against your bottom, you're just going to put a lot of distress on your knees, and your knees already have a lot of issues because of what you do as a profession and as a hobby. So what you want to do is you want to keep that leg straight down, deepen the quad, the stretch by tilting your hips away. Okay, and you'd want to do that for both sides. We've stretched the quadriceps. Now we want to go into hamstrings. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to just bring that leg up onto anything. And notice that I'm just going to bring my shoulders straight down into it. Okay. With all the stretches, we want to hold those for 2 to 5 seconds. Come back up. Now while you're here, we're going to stretch inner and outer thigh. But just dropping your foot out and coming back down, you're going to be able to isolate your inner thigh muscles. Come back up to neutral, go to the outside, you're going to feel that in your hip region. Come on straight back down again. Notice that my bottom leg is still pointing forward at all times. That keeps the hips squared off, and it isolates the attachment and the insertion of each muscle. Okay, so that's going to stretch out the front of the legs, the quads, the back of the legs, hamstrings, adductors on the inner side, adductors on the outside. Okay, and into the glutes, all of which you guys use when you put that leg up against the bike for turning. So don't blow off stretching the hips. It's an area that's overlooked quite often. From there, you can move down to the ground. Okay, and as you do so, what you want to do is try to keep this leg straight. You're just going to bring this leg towards you, and then you're going to notice my right leg is up, and I'm going to take it towards my left shoulder. That's just going to deepen the stretch into my hips, into my glutes, and into my lower back. Okay? And as you get more comfortable with that, you can straighten the leg out, let it come to the side. That's going to be a much deeper stretch, and you can let the foot go all the way down to the ground if your lower back will allow you. All right? From here, you can sit up. You can do a little bit more on the adductors by just kind of gradually trying to walk your feet in. Do not push down on your elbows. Your upper body strength can blow out the adductors off your attachments, create a groin pull. What you want to do is act like you have strings pulling down off your knees, and just create a tension by pulling out. Notice I'm not pushing down, and you'll feel that tension in your inner thighs. Hold that for 3 to 4 seconds, and then when you release, see if you just can't walk that in just a little bit more. All right. When you're down here, you can go into you can go into calf stretch by just pushing and pulling your calves forwards and backwards. Okay? One of the reasons why we don't like to do this stretch standing up is you have a lot of body weight on some relatively small muscles in your lower leg. And all you want to do is just make sure that you get them moving back and forth that direction. Okay? From there, we want to come back up. You pretty much have your whole body warmed up. The last thing you want to do is what we call tension stretches, where you're going to grab something that's stationary, kind of put your arm around it, and you're just going to let your body weight pull back. You're going to feel that in your lats and back. It's one of the biggest muscles in the upper body. Okay? And notice I'm just going to rotate in and out, but I'm trying to keep my hand affixed on something, and I'm just letting my body weight pull back. Same thing here. Just switch sides. You can have your hands inward and outward. It's going to change the position in the pull. And the thing that you guys have to remember as motocross racers and riders is that your lower back, center of your back, with all the pushing and pulling that you do to go and set up through the whoops, setting up for the jumps, as the bike accelerates forward, okay, and you're trying to keep it from throwing you off the back of the bike, it's all back muscles. So this stretch here is going to help isolate and stretch out those muscles before you get out on the track. The faster you go, the more important it is. Okay? In regards to the shoulders, the reason why we want to get the deltoids and everything around the shoulder loosened up is as you decelerate coming into the corners and you're trying to keep yourself from moving forward on the bike, that's all anterior shoulder. Okay? By having the shoulder joint very mobile, if for some unknown reason you have one of those slow tip over and you put your hand out, if that shoulder joint is not mobile, you're going to blow and shatter the muscles out of there, tear a tendon, maybe even break a bone. Okay? Our motto at MotoE is we'd rather you be flexible so that if you happen to hit the ground, that you bounce and you don't break. So even though stretching can be boring and mundane at times, the whole idea here is you have to plan ahead. Don't forget about the application off the motorcycle. We don't want you to stretch just for the sake of saying you're flexible. We want it so that you reduce your chance of injury. The last thing that I want to recommend is that you focus on diaphragmatic breathing, deep belly breathing. Remember, if you're yawning when you're stretching, that's your body's way of telling you need more oxygen. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. If not, we'll look forward to seeing you at the next video.